They hate Trump. They're angry he's president. And anything he does, they want to stop.
This morning, JB Pritzker was walking and being interviewed during his walk, and he dodged a question about the extreme rate of violence that took place in Chicago over the weekend. This is cut 29.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead.
Yeah.
They're going to say the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
Okay. This is a really bad argument. Now, if Pritzker wants to argue that in blue cities in red states, there are also super high crime rates and the National Guard should be called in there too, I echo it. Memphis, in my home state, I would welcome the National Guard. I think a lot of you listening in Kansas City or St. Louis or New Orleans would welcome the National Guard in your cities to drive down rates of violent crime. We're going to play a couple of other cuts, Brandon Johnson, the mayor. But, Buck, this is an example of trying to make an argument that is very difficult and ultimately comes down to, I'm concerned that Trump is exercising too much power in his effort to drive down violent crime in my community. That is effectively what Trump has got Democrats arguing.
It's, like I said, a win from both sides of the issue, as in Trump is doing an objectively good thing. And you had the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson. I mean, this is just the kind of stuff that you're going to hear from some of these Democrats. He's saying this is on a Labor Day rally. He called on the citizens of Chicago to, you know what? I want you to hear this. This is the mayor of our third largest city, Democrat, of course. Play 26.
Are you prepared to defend this land that was built by slaves, a land that was built by indigenous people, a land that is built by workers? Are you prepared to defend this land? The people united will always prevail. I need you all to stand firm, to stand strong. If this president decides to continue to break this Constitution.
First of all, is he talking about Chicago? He's saying Chicago was built by indigenous people? It actually wasn't. It was a fort to fight against indigenous people, but that's a whole other thing.
Not many slaves involved in the construction of Chicago. Just do a little bit of basic historical research. Just going to toss it out there. Illinois, land of Lincoln, not exactly known for its huge embrace of slavery. And again, for the history nerds out there, most of Chicago burned down in the 1880s. So with the famous cow knocking over the lantern, and the whole city basically burned down. So Chicago was by and large a city that was built by free people. Just FYI. So even the argument of this is stolen land and this is enslaved populace, it's just all BS.
And I believe that the derivation of the city of Chicago comes from an Algonquin word for an onion-like plant that is quite pungent. Chicago.
I think that's actually correct.
Yes. So there you have it. So we named it for something that has indigenous roots, but it was not, in fact, built by indigenous people. But more to the point, defend your city against the National Guard. Who does he think the National Guard is comprised of? Pretty sure it's Americans. I mean, last I checked. And defend the city against them makes it sound like they're an invading force that's doing bad things to people. They would just be there to assist with law enforcement. And I see all these smug comments in the D.C. context, even from commentators out there saying, they're not even going into the most dangerous neighborhoods. They're there at like Union Station. There have been people shot within blocks of Union Station, robbed at Union Station, shot in Union Station. This actually happens. And it just shows you these people have no idea who are making these comments, what they're talking about. But also, it turns out that when there are men and women who have, M16s and who are there observing what's going on, people are less likely to pull out guns and shoot each other.
Yeah.
It's pretty understandable why. If they say halt, And they're calling the cops on. I don't think you want to open up with your pistol on the National Guard. There's a reason why bad guys don't want to do things in front of armed good guys. This is very straightforward.
And also, even if you're not directly seeing the armed forces, the security apparatus, in the back of your mind, you're thinking they might be there. Because when you believe that there are consequences for crime, it makes a criminal take a pause and think, oh, maybe the risk of attempting this violent act, maybe the risk of attempting this criminal act is one there will be consequences for. And so there are less violent acts that actually are begun in the first place, just by the idea of, hey, they might catch me. And this goes to NYPD, right? If you think I might do something that's not very significant, jump, say, the turnstile in a subway, if you think I might get caught for doing this, you're less likely to accelerate to some level of crime that is more significant.
This is why when they were trying to get rid of the plainclothes, there was a high crime specific plainclothes unit in the NYPD, and this became a big political firestorm. It's because these guys are and girls are very useful, because if you don't know that and the NYPD is very good at this, by the way, at having people who can blend in. If you don't know that that's a cop and you're doing something and you're breaking, but those plainclothes officers, if you don't break the law, you don't even know they're there. They don't bother you. The point is they're there, and it changes the calculation, to your point, Clay, of the bad guys. I saw something here in Miami Beach, I got to say, was very Crockett and Tubbs. I was very impressed. It was I believe it was a Bentley that was actually an undercover cop car. So I've got to assume that it was seized, probably in some kind of a drug bust or something. But it was a Bentley with the bubblegum machine, as they call it, with the blue and red lights or whatever, and pulled somebody over in some kind of. I was like, you wouldn't see that one coming. You wouldn't usually think that was going to happen. So, there are ways to do this that make it very effective policing. But I also, if Brandon Johnson was a serious person, I mean, he's seriously dangerous to the city of Chicago with his policies. But if he was a serious person, he wouldn't say Trump is evil. Let's just stop Trump. He would say, guys, I have a better way to bring the crime numbers down. The moment he starts talking about, and every Democrat in a major city starts talking about, they start babbling on about investment. They start babbling on about social workers. And it's just nonsense. It's unserious.
This is why the data coming out of Washington, D.C. is so important, because what it begs the question of is, if Trump could drive down violent crime in D.C. by around 50% in the 3 weeks plus that there have been the distribution of National Guard troops, the support added, how many people are you willing to let die because you're angry that Trump is trying to provide more security to your city?
Or that you're angry that Trump is the president. Let's just call it what it is. People are just saying they hate Trump. They're angry he's president. And anything he does, they want to stop, right? So it's just a continuation of that. Just a reminder, as I've said, they deployed the National Guard for COVID at airports and all kinds of public venues as if they were going to shoot the virus particles in the air. It was absurd. It was absurd. And Democrats were fine with that, right? Oh, we need the National Guard checking your papers. Checking your papers, everyone, for COVID. That wasn't a police state, they said. That wasn't a police state. But having National Guard in a federal province, which is D.C., there to just make sure you can walk down the street and not get shot or carjacked, that they have a problem. That's tyranny. All right, look, when inflation jumps, you're reminded that our national debt is over $37 trillion. So here's the thought. Maybe now's a good time to buy some gold, whether as a hedge against inflation or just smart long-term diversification of your holdings. Birch Gold Group believes every American should own physical gold, and they want to make it easy for you. Until September 30th, if you are a first-time gold buyer, Birch Gold is offering a rebate of up to $10,000 in free metals on qualifying purchases. To claim eligibility and start the process, request an info kit now. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Birch Gold can help you roll an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold, and you're still eligible for a rebate in free metals for up to $10,000. Diversify with gold like I do with Birch Gold Group. Make now your first time to buy gold. Take advantage of a rebate of up to $10,000 when you buy by September 30th. So for the first time, A lot of you are long-time gold people. If you want to add your holdings or you want to transition that IRA or 401k, Birch Gold's who you want to go with. But if you're a first-time gold buyer, special incentive here for you, okay? Diversify with gold with the Birch Gold Group. Text my name, Buck, to 989898. Claim your eligibility today. Again, text BUCK to 989898.